Hi, and welcome to the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast, where we discuss different aspects of living a healthy thyroid lifestyle, positively and practically, so that you can really thrive and not just survive. So join me, your host, Annabelle Bateman, and let's talk thyroid. Before we dive into the episode, I've just realized that really it's not that long until Christmas. A month today that this is released. So if anyone is wanting a Christmas present and you're wanting to buy a Christmas present through me for either yourself or someone else, then I'm just going to highlight two things that you could buy. One is a copy of my cookbook, which if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see me holding up. It's called What Annabelle Cooks. It's a physical copy cookbook, which has about 160 odd pages worth of gluten, grain, and dairy-free recipes, mostly sugar-free too. I have 48 physical copies of the cookbook left. So if you want one of those and you're in Australia, then head on over to annabellebateman.com/shop and you'll be able to buy a physical copy and I can post it to you. International postage is just ludicrously expensive from Australia. So the good news is the complete cookbook is also available as a digital copy. It's the whole book in a PDF format. So it all holds together in a nice style. You can actually see the recipe with the picture, which often doesn't happen with ebooks. So, and again, that's on the website. So that's one thing. You could buy a cookbook for yourself or someone else. And number two is if you would like to buy a thyroid strategy session, you might want to take it up in the new year. That's completely fine, whenever you'd like to do that. But if you'd like an opportunity to sit down with me, come up with a bit of a plan for your thyroid health, map out a couple of steps that you can take to move forward with your health, then why not book a thyroid strategy session? So those two things, they're two Christmas gifts that I can offer, available for sale. Would really appreciate that if those are of interest to you. The other thing I would love you to do actually is to subscribe to the podcast. And if you're able to on Apple, to leave a review, that would be incredibly helpful. My 15-year-old apparently told me he must have looked up the podcast somewhere online and he said, "Mum, did you know your podcast's in the top 10% of podcasts?" I'm like, well, I did not know that. Isn't that fabulous? And every review and subscribe, and subscription's free, it's just like following the podcast, really does help the algorithms to know that there's valuable information, that people are finding it helpful. So it really does help to get that message out there. So if you could do that for me as a Christmas gift, write a review, subscribe, engage on social media, I would be incredibly grateful. All right, let's dive right into it. Hello, and welcome to episode 53 of the Let's Talk Thyroid podcast. I'm Annabelle, and we're going to be chatting today about Thyroid Thanksgiving. Now, Thanksgiving is a holiday that we don't actually celebrate in Australia, but as I was thinking about the podcast this week and what I was going to share, I thought, actually there's some really lovely aspects about gratitude and stopping and reflecting and being thankful that I think is really helpful for our thyroid health. So I'm just going to go over a few different ideas, getting you thinking about how you can be thankful for your thyroid and your thyroid health and how that could actually be supportive of some, I guess, improving your thyroid health. But before we do that, I just want to highlight a couple of the episodes that we've had recently. This one is going to be a bit shorter because I know some of the ones we've had in the last month or two have been fairly long because they've been so jam-packed full of fabulous information. I've had some incredible guests and I've got a few more good ones coming up too. So I thought if I do a shorter one this time, then this fortnight, that gives you a bit of a chance to catch up on some of the previous episodes if you haven't had a chance to listen. So very briefly, going back over the last couple of months, we've had Karen Martell talking about how to lose weight with a thyroid issue. And particularly if you've got hypo, underactive Hashimoto's, then this is a very, very common frustration. So that has been a wildly popular episode. So check that out if you haven't already. Then I explored a bit of the idea of is there a thyroid personality, or how does your personality work for you or against you, and how do you use your personality for your best health? Then I chatted with Dr. Peter Kozlowski, who is a functional medicine doctor in the States, talking all about unfunking your gut. And we know that gut health and thyroid health are very closely connected, particularly from an autoimmune perspective. So if you've got gut health issues, which probably you do, pretty much we all do, you'll definitely want to check that out. Then the last episode before this one, I was chatting with Ginny Ma, who is also known as the hypothyroid chef. So it was kind of it's amazing how sometimes these just flow on from each other. So with Dr. Koz talking all about gut health, then talking with Ginny about thyroid friendly or thyroid healthy food. And being a chef, she had lots of great ideas about how to make food delicious and yummy, and focusing on all the good things that we can have, which can be challenging, when you're exploring perhaps some food sensitivities and removing some foods in eating in a different way. Now, talking about Ginny too, coming up next week on her Instagram channel, which is at Hypothyroid Chef. The two of us will be talking some Christmas food ideas in a live. So follow us both on Instagram or join my email list, and I will make sure you know exactly when that's happening. We're just going to talk about lots of fun, thyroid-friendly Christmas holiday celebration type food. I've got an interview coming up with Dr. Anshul Gupta, who has written a book called Reversing Hashimoto's, which I read yesterday and is so clear and so helpful. And so I'm really looking forward to talking with him. I've had a conversation last night with Lynn, who's a member of the Let's Talk Thyroid Facebook community, sharing her thyroid story. I've got a conversation coming up with Bronte May, who you might remember from episode 20, where we talked about, she's a naturopath and has Graves' disease. So we were talking about Graves' disease and hyperthyroidism. That has probably been one of the most popular episodes to date of the podcast. So we're going to dive a bit deeper into Graves and answer a few questions. So there's lots coming up, probably in the lead up to Christmas, and then flowing over into January. So stay with me, catch up on some of those older episodes. Look, you've got a few great things to look forward to. But back to Thanksgiving, and I am going to just run over a couple of helpful things, because it would be really, it's because there is power in gratitude, I suppose. I did a bit of a Google search, as you do, and found a really helpful article that I'll link in the show notes. It's a Harvard article about gratitude. And you probably know there's been lots of research done into gratitude and in that field of positive psychology. I'm not going to go through all that now, but basically I thought they had a good definition, which was gratitude is thankful appreciation for what an individual receives, whether that's tangible or intangible. And, in that research, gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. So I guess when we're talking about thyroid health, and we know that our mood can be impacted when we have a thyroid problem, that depression, anxiety, just mood disturbance, feeling a bit flat, feeling tired, brain fog, all those things, just dealing with all the things, it can leave us feeling a bit negative. And so we want to, whilst not ignoring all of that, but, I guess that mindset element to health is just so important. And the gratitude or thankfulness research really supports that. If we can be grateful and focus on the things we can be grateful for, that actually helps to improve health, relationships, general positive emotion, resilience and ability to deal with adversity. So I think that's a good reason to be thankful. The fact that it can actually improve our health, improve our mindset, improve our attitude, make us feel happier. All of that has got to help our thyroid health. When stress plays such a big impact on our health, then the more that we can be doing to reduce stress and I guess work on that mindset, the better. So I'm going to give you a couple of the things that I'm thankful for to my thyroid health, and then I'm going to give you a few tips of how to think about this for yourself, and a couple of exercises to do to help with that thyroid Thanksgiving or thyroid thankfulness. So here are a couple of the things that when I sat down to think about what am I grateful for my thyroid health, well, number one has to be that without knowing that I had a thyroid problem and without taking a proactive approach to managing my thyroid health, I would not be as healthy as I am today. I'm pretty confident of that. If I didn't have to make changes to my diet, if I didn't have to make changes to my lifestyle, if I didn't have to take medication, if I didn't have all those things, I would just not be as healthy as I am. So I'm so grateful that I've learned to be healthier, that I've learned to be proactive, I've learned to be intuitive, to listen to my body, to get help where I need it, to build my support team. And that the upside is that I feel so much better than I did before I was really taking as an active role in my health. So I'm grateful for my thyroid health because I'm healthier. I'm grateful because it's taught me to be curious. I think when you've learned to manage a chronic health issue in a slightly different way to the mainstream medical system. So as you know, if you've listened for a while, I take my thyroid medication, but I'm, a very big advocate for diet and lifestyle as well. So I think it's having this chronic health issue has taught me to be curious. It's taught me to investigate. It's taught me not just to accept everything that I'm told. It's taught me to trust my body, to try new things. And I'm grateful for that. I'm incredibly grateful that I have been able to share some of the things that have worked for me and the knowledge that I've gained with you on the podcast and with other people, whether that's people who follow on social media or friends or family with thyroid conditions, or people that work with me. Just the fact that I have that just that ability to share that information, and that I'm so humbled that people actually want to listen to what I share and maybe get some benefit from it. That's I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity, and I don't take that lightly. So thank you for listening and being part of my thyroid community. That's another aspect that I'm incredibly grateful for, is the broader thyroid community. And I think as a whole, I have found it to be a very supportive, very generous community. So that is both of thyroid health experts, patients, other thyroid health advocates, the professionals that I've had the opportunity to talk with on the podcast. People are so generous with their knowledge and experience and information. So if you have the opportunity to support those that you follow with respect to thyroid health, and some of that support can be as simple as hitting a like on a Facebook post or an Instagram post, or writing a comment, or maybe buying someone a cup of coffee online, or if someone's written a book, buy their book. So some of my guests, for example, on the podcast have written books, and if you've found that useful information on the podcast, why not buy their book and support them in that way? Yes, I've just found that, to be incredibly generous community. So let's all support each other. Look, I think they're the key things. I mean, there's probably lots more things that I'm grateful for, thankful for about my thyroid health, but that probably gives you a bit of a insight, I suppose, into the things that I'm most grateful for. So now I just want to have a quick chat, then I'm going to let you go. And like how to actually be thankful. How do we do this? So what I want you to do, first of all, is wherever you are, and I mean, obviously, if you're driving, just do this in your mind, but wherever you are, stop. Just take a moment now, right now. I'm going to pause for a minute and give you a minute. Just take a moment and think about just one thing to do with your health. I guess your thyroid health, but your health in general that you're thankful for. I think there's power in just setting aside time to think and be thankful and to reflect, look back. Actually, last night when I was talking with Lynn for the podcast, and you'll hear her story coming up over the next little while, she said it's only in looking back that she's realized how far she's come. She said, I'd forgotten how bad I was feeling and how good I feel now. And so there is real power in stopping and reflecting. So even just doing that, even if you do that occasionally throughout the day, that is a helpful practice. Some people find keeping a gratitude journal helpful. And I would say that, like, if you are kind of feeling like you're in the bottom of that pit that we all go through with dealing with a chronic illness, if you feel like you're kind of in that pit and everything feels a bit hard and flat and maybe overwhelming, and you're not lacking some of that hope, then keeping a gratitude journal, even for a week or maybe a month, doesn't have to be something you do forever. It could be helpful to help you to shift some of that mindset and shift some of those negative thought patterns into positive thought patterns. Because we know, if we go back, and like, you can go and do the research into gratitude if you want to, that stopping and finding things to be grateful for is really powerful. For some people, you might like to pray. Like, praying can be a really great opportunity to stop and be thankful to God, thankful for opportunities, thankful for health, thankful for all sorts of things. So that prayer, and sometimes even a meditative prayer or meditating, can be ways that you can stop and express that thankfulness or gratitude. There's one other exercise I'm going to leave you with, and this is something that I've pulled out actually of a chapter in my book that is nearly ready to be published, I think, or to be, typeset and what have you. There's a whole chapter on mindset and how to change your mindset and the importance of mindset in dealing with chronic health issues. So this is what it's called a reframing exercise. So this is moving a negative statement into a positive affirmation with a gratitude statement in the middle. So sometimes it's difficult to go from a negative thought to, say, a positive affirmation. But I think that gratitude or thankfulness can sit in the middle and be a bit of a transition. So I'm going to give you an example, and then if you check my social media throughout the next week or so, one of the days, I haven't written the post yet, but one of the days I will put this activity in there to do. So, for example, a negative statement that you might have going around in your head is something like, I'm just so sick of the brain fog. We know that brain fog often comes with thyroid disorders. So a gratitude statement from that could look something like, I'm grateful that brain fog is an alarm to remind me that something's not quite right and to do something about it. It's an alert. Maybe, that's an opportunity to go do some reading into the gut-brain connection, or the grain-brain connection, or, to use your essential oils or to cut gluten. It doesn't really matter what it is at the moment. The point being that the brain fog, sick of it. Okay, I'm grateful that actually it's an alert to me that something's not quite right and I can do something about it. And then transition that into a positive affirmation, which might be something along the lines of, my brain is clear and focused. So can you see that the way that sort of transition just might be helpful if you've got some recurring negative thoughts or grizzles, or that we all have going around in your head. Maybe sometime over the next week, take some time to sit down and write a couple of those negative thoughts out. See if you can turn them into a gratitude statement, at least to start with, if not a positive affirmation. So I hope that is helpful. Whether you celebrate Thanksgiving as a holiday, around a table with family and friends or not, I hope that this week you take out a little bit more time to reflect on what you're thankful for. Have a fabulous week. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Let's Talk Thyroid. I would love it if you enjoyed it, if you would hit subscribe and the bell. That would be really helpful. Even more helpful, actually, would be to share it with someone else who you know has thyroid issues or you think would benefit from listening. That really is part of my mission, I suppose, is to spread the message of positive and practical approach to managing your thyroid health so that people really kind of have more energy to get on with living their life and not just kind of trudging through each day. So spreading that word really genuinely helps other people feel better, live better, be better. The best way that you can connect with me is through my website, which is annabellebateman.com. From there, really, you'll be able to connect in all the other ways. I would love it if you would join my Facebook community group. There's lots of great support there. It's all free. That's just being with like-minded people. But from the website, you can also book a strategy session with me. So if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, not too sure where to start, then book a strategy session. There's also freebies to download and links to look at my online courses or purchase some essential oils or my cookbook. So that's really the hub, would be annabellebateman.com. But look forward to connecting with you and just being in this thyroid health journey together. Have a great day. Bye.
The information presented and discussed in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease and should not be used as a substitute for proper advice from a qualified professional.